I worked at 20th Century Fox, and when I was there as creative director
Yes.
for a long time, we had a park where they shot M.A.S.H. It was the Malibu Park. At that time, it was owned by 20th Century Fox. It was
It
our
was the
shooting.
Fox Ranch.
Yeah,
They
it was
called
our
the
ranch.
Fox Ranch.
And Loretta was always there, of course, obviously for the show, and Alan Alda and the rest of the gang. But it was turned into a national park, and we had 20th Century Fox donated the park to the state of California, and we were relieving ourselves of a lot of things in those days. Earlier on, we donated forcefully what they call Century City, because there was a lot of money lost on Hello Dolly, which a lot of people don't talk about. Anyway, Loretta's always been a very, very prominent player, and I think the secret part of her life, being a wonderful artist and also an animal lover, animal activist too. I wanted to mention this because I was thinking, I used to live in Palos Verdes, where we own marine land, which was the other thing. At that time, Dennis Stanfield was the chairman of 20th Century Fox, and he believed in real estate. And it wasn't so much making movies or making television shows, although M.A.S.H. was a huge hit, and then, of course, Aaron Spelling with Love Boat and all those other things. But, he had this idea that we should own real estate because that's where the money was. And he bought a bunch of television stations and had the Century City turned into a real estate bonanza, you know. Now, what I'm getting at is marine land, which was at the tip of Palos Verdes, right there on the way to Long Beach, if you are familiar with that territory. I said, I think they turned that in, they closed it, Nothing he bought made any money.
Oh, that's not good.
So they turned that into a
not a good
sushi.
story.
They turned it into a sushi bar.
Wow.
I mean, that thing was gone. But where were you living at the time?
I have no idea. When is this? When was that?
77, 1978, around that time.
I was obviously in California. I was shooting the series.
Yeah. But where were you living in Beverly Hills? Did you live there?
No. At that point, I lived on St. Ives Drive, lovely little French cottage house. St. Ives Drive. It was off Sunset Boulevard, up in the hills they called Birdland.
Yeah.
You had thrush and warbler and blue jay, and so the taxi drivers called it Birdland, like, Bel Air. It's not on the map, but, that was so I lived in, maybe that's where you got the idea.
Probably.
Birdland.
Did you have animals at that time? Were you collecting?
Oh, yes. I had a herd of dog.
What kind?
A mix. I had peaks mostly, but peekapoos as well.
Do you have anything in particular that we should all know about that's really interesting about dogs that doesn't get said? I mean, there's
I don't think
people
so.
who are animal.
I think most people who have animals know that they have a network and an instinct, and they talk.
Right.
You can communicate in a way. I have a Yorkshire Terrier right now, and 2 cats, and the Yorkie talks. I mean, she comes to the kitchen and grunts that she's hungry. And is you hungry? I mean, we talk. And when she's had enough food, she'll come for a late night snack, which is not the best thing to do for anybody. And so I'll give her a little piece of chicken, and it's not enough. No, that's enough. Go to bed. And she literally turns around and goes to bed.
Wow.
I mean, it's not the language so much as the sound. She hears that, I'm leaving. I'll be right back, I say to her, regardless of how many hours it's going to be. But she understands that. I tell her to watch the house, and she goes off and she has a little nap. And I mean, so animals have their own kind of networking that you can click into, you can, hook into. But I think that's really not news. I think most animal people, or people who have pet companions, know this.
So they were social networking long before we were.
Yes, actually, they sure were.
And they communicate without the electronics.
Yes.
I have.
So you've just made them a lot smarter than we are. I hope you understand that.
You know Warren Eckstein, right?
Who?
You know Warren Eckstein? He does a pet show. I don't know if you know him or not. I worked
sorry,
with
no,
him
I don't.
years ago.
No.
He lives in L.A. And he's very interesting about pets. He tells us to talk to them and do all the various things that we would do, like
absolutely.
children. And he has a great awareness. And then there's the other guy, Caesar,
Oh,
does.
yes.
Yeah, you know, he's. I've had him on the show too, not here, but years ago, and he's another guy. You know, you don't take any crap from the dog. You got to tell the dog who's in charge. That's his deal. It's interesting how we all have this this style. I have a dog that orders from the menu. You know, you know, and also I think I wanted to mention just briefly that Doris Day, who was one of my great friends, you know,
yes.
years ago, she was such a wonderful person to adopt.
Every
pets.
dog has his day. That was
Yeah.
her first book about
And
animals.
she was great.
And she was actually spearheaded the movement years and years ago, showing, you know, the relationship between the human animal and the animal, and she did a lot for us. She's still actually, you know, our model. In a way. Yeah.
And we had recently in New York City, they were trying to get rid of the horses in Central Park, and
that's a while ago. But no, we that
Yeah,
stopped as
yeah.
soon as it began. It was stopped.
Yeah.
well, you know why? Because I think the mayor had some relationship with somebody who wanted the building they were in. And because he helped to finance his elections, Russell Simmons, and he wanted to have that building on 34th Street, I believe.
I'm not
so
sure.
they were going to push the horses out of there. You know, I mean, everybody always has a money angle,
It's an agenda.
and animal lovers love the animals. We don't care about the money part.
Actually, behind every horror, there's always a buck that somebody's making. And that goes for human animals too, but I mean mostly for animals who are way down on the totem pole when you're collecting money, when you're funding something.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. See, unhappily, we're still killing each other.
Yeah.
So for us to pull back and say, no, you mustn't hurt that animal, or you must, you know, think about this animal. So it's a tough hoe, always. It's a
Well,
tough,
on the other scale, are you a vegetarian?
I'm a vegan.
Are you? Good.
Do you know
Casey
the
Kasem
difference?
was that
I'm
too.
not
You know.
sure people know that.
No.
A vegan doesn't do anything or related to animals. We don't wear skins. We don't,
Yeah.
and we don't do dairy, which is an
Right.
animal product. And
Maybe eggs. No eggs.
no, that's dairy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that considered dairy? It's in the dairy case, but it's chicken is not.
It's a dairy product. Yeah. And well, it's an offspring of, you know, it's taking advantage of something from an animal
Yeah.
that we don't believe in doing. Animals, Farm Sanctuary, which is a wonderful organization that one of the ones in my book that I list that
Which
I
is
support.
Sweetheart. It's called Sweetheart.
Sweetheart, yeah.
Yeah. And you're a lovely lady and
Well,
very beautiful.
thank you so
and
much.
also you
Yeah.
look great. I mean, you know, you look
Well,
like you
I'm
did in
supposed to.
No, in 1977
I mean,
you look the same.
It's always, I love that when people say, God, you look so great. Well, of course. I mean, I spend a lot of time trying to present the best me I have.
But you look the same like from years ago. I mean, you know, you're one of those people that's
I
a
look,
natural.
I look quite a bit different, but thank you anyway.
It's probably the food.
That's cute, but not really a joke. Yes,
No.
of course, we are what we eat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do believe in that. I mean, originally, I was very taken with the health aspect. It just dovetailed into my beliefs. Animals are my friends, they're not my food.
Right.
But
Good.
essentially, I do believe in a plant-based diet being the healthiest thing I can do for my body.
And I also,
That's me.
in conjunction with that, I want to live. I choose to live so that I watch my food. But the other thing is, I mentioned briefly when you were talking that Casey Kasem, who was a good friend, he was a wonderful vegan. And he said, Joey, there's 5,000 things you can order off the menu. You don't have to be eating animals.
Exactly.
And I took the Bikram yoga for 18 years, you know,
Mm-hmm.
taking the Bikram yoga, which helped it helped everything, you know. So now when I have something happen, which is evident when you get older, it heals a lot differently. So it's all part of the metaphysical being that we are, and I like putting that on the air because I think it's important. You know, it's not so much that that someone is celebrated. You're celebrated for your work, but you know, you're not known by the work that you really are doing. That's wonderful, which is this. I mean, you're not primarily known for it, but
right, of
maybe
course,
these days
yeah.
you will be.
But I think getting the book out is going to make a little bit of a difference.
And what
of
a
that.
what-
These
this is-
watercolorings are
This is what they call a coffee
beautiful.
table book. You know.
Really
Thank
so
you.
nice.
Now,
Thanks.
who's the gentleman with you
Thanks.
here?
This is my publisher, Ms. Hora.
Hi, Meets.
Say hello, be nice, behave yourself.
Oh no! I'm listen. They put paper under me. I'm trained.
A lot of people don't know that, or didn't know until recently, that Loretta was a world-class watercolorist and self-taught.
I don't know about
Largely.
the world-class part. I mean, that's Mies is a fan.
I discovered this. I met her early last year, and I saw some of her work, and I said, "Boy, have you ever?" She's done some gallery shows and things over the years, but I said, you really should do a book. And so she invited me over, and we looked at a lot of her work, and I said, this is absolutely going to be a wonderful
This
book.
is a book, he said. This is a book.
Well, my friend Robert Fleischer is probably one of the best watercolor artists in the country, and he speaks of you, so your work is well known in that area.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, I'm
There you go.
impressed.
Yeah. I know.
The thing that I'm untrained. Let's begin with that. I've been doing this since I'm 6.
Yeah.
And when I was 6, the reason I know that's the age is because I won an art prize. And my mother was, flabbergasted. My 6-year-old child has won this art prize. But I mean, I've either been sketching or doodling or something, and just been something that I did. And now, of course, like the quote from Angela Lansbury on the book, she says, how wonderful that you are able to take your talent and do good with it. And that, to me, is what that's all about.
She's
the
lovely.
pleasure that I get from...
I want to interrupt you for a second. There's a woman who, when she was with Murder, She Wrote, she helped other artists
Ange,
who hadn't worked in years.
One of the best ladies
She
in
was so
the
kind
world.
with everybody. And she also moved into a building where, that was condemned at one time. The neighborhood was, not her building. But she moved into that housing where she was
To
a regular
save the,
person, just a lovely person.
She's the best,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
You're preaching to the choir.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you were friends. I
Adore
didn't know
her.
that.
Just
Yeah.
absolutely adore her. Known her since MAME days. She was doing MAME on Broadway. I
Right.
was rehearsing the National Company.
Wow.
And the director, Gene Sachs, told us all to go anytime we wanted to go to the Winter Garden and watch the show. For the blocking essentially stays the same. The music, of course, and the dancing. So we would occasionally go, and I was doing Agnes Gooch, and Jane Cannell was doing Agnes Gooch, and she was wonderful. But I would go there with the idea that I'd be watching Gooch and the blocking.
Yeah.
And invariably would get lost in Angie's performance because she was stunning. She was amazing. And it was like taking a master class watching her I was a kid, So I wrote her a fan letter, my first one, and I've only written 2 in my life. The other one was to Robert Mitchum. Okay, so the first fan letter is to Angie, and I went on and on about what happened, that I was always drifting off from Jane because she was riveting and amazing. Also, I saw it so often. Now, speaking as the artist, you appreciate coming back after a weekend off. So Sunday night and Monday you've not performed. So Tuesday you've got to gear up again.
Right.
Wednesday you've done 2 shows. Friday you've done this week's work. Saturday matinee. And I watched this woman give the same energy, and I mean, she was incredible, because MAME, which I eventually got to do, is a mammoth Hamlet part. I mean, you have 15, 16 fast changes, you're dancing, you're singing, you're acting. It's a mammoth job. And she was remarkable. So I wrote all this in the letter. She was my idol.
Well,
Years later, I'm at a CBS one of those get-together with all the CBS artists, and there was Angela, where I was able to run up to her, and by then she knew me. I was doing M.A.S.H, and I said, it's such a pleasure to meet you finally, and you won't remember this, and you didn't know me, but years ago she said, I have that letter.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
That's great.
Well, I mean, I was... My jaw dropped to Australia. But that's the kind of
And
it touched her.
She wore
and
furs
it meant,
in that show.
It touched her, and it meant something
Yeah,
to
that's
her.
beautiful.
Doris Day also has
Yeah.
worn furs in movies.
Oh yeah. Well, that's just.
I don't, by
Yeah.
the way, but that's a choice. That's a personal choice.
Well, you're great. You're great, and I so thank you for being here tonight. And I know that people are going to go to Birdland expecting to see you. Now. Loretta Swit,
other
sweetheart.
Birdland.
Don't forget. And thanks for being here.
Oh,
Also,
thank you very much.
Thank you for putting the work out.
The book can be purchased at sweetheart.com.
Sweetheart. It's
Yeah, and do get it off the website as opposed to any other.
Bookstores.
Okay, there you go.